There are currently 130,000 veterans in the United States that are legally blind, and 1 million plus veterans with low vision. And every single one of them is facing challenges every single day. But we're here to help. This is Wisdom Books. Thank you for joining us. With a live studio audience coming to you from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our passion is to share new books with our fellow brothers and sisters that are blind or visually impaired. Let's do it. This is Wisdom Books. And this is your host, Benjamin Keeley.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Wisdom for the Blind Book Club. Today we're going to talk about books, and hopefully we'll have a few more people jumping in there and contributing and talk about some good books. So right now we have myself, David, and Mike's in there. So how you doing, Mike?
Good.
Good. So what have you been reading lately? Because we haven't heard from you in a while. So what have you been up to and what have you been reading?
Well, Bert put out that email recommending a new writer. And he mentioned that the writer had, written other stuff, that this was a new series. And he had discovered the second book of the series. And then Jane Carp come in there and told him, that the first book in the series was also available. So I listened to those two books. And it's a young female police officer that goes from burglary to homicide. And she is a smart lady. I mean, she doesn't just, go in and investigate a crime and see what's there, but she sees what's not there and uses that to help her unravel things. And they're real good reading. So
do you remember the name of the series?
It's Bert sent out an email,
Okay, I didn't see that email, so I'll have to find out what that is, what the name of that series is. So
but those two books that are available are both they're very readable.
Okay, so it's about a police woman who's young and becomes a detective.
Yeah, she's the youngest homicide detective, on the force, and so she takes some kidding for that. They pair her with a guy who's a couple hundred days away from retirement. So he's going out as she's coming in, and he's sympathetic to her, and he basically lets her do her thing. I'm just putting in my time until I retire, so he's letting her be the lead on the case, and she's coming up with lines of
notification from Outlook. Left parent, classic. Right parent, Kim, and insanely good. Red heart.
Okay.
These desserts are dangerously delicious. These desserts are so easy. Dot.
I know what that is. I'm getting some weird
Action.
stuff coming through my Outlook here.
Dave,
All right,
Bert just joined us.
Yep. Hi, Bert. How you doing? Bert, can you hear me?
Well, Bert can tell us all about the titles and the author and all that.
Yeah.
Like I read them.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, Bert, we
Okay,
can hear you.
good.
So Mike was just talking about the email you sent out about the books.
Detective.
But what?
It's a series of that the author just started about the youngest female detective on the force.
Oh, yeah. Lee Goldberg is the author.
I read those two, and I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, it's great. This guy, in fact, I just finished reading a Mr. Monk book from the series, another series he writes, and that's a silly book. It's a super detective, but it's very silly at times. Still entertaining, but not as good as the other one.
So Bert, what was the name of the series? Because Mike didn't recall the name of the series about that police woman. What do you remember?
Eve Ronin, Ronin, Nin.
And what's the series called?
Her name? It has her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the name of the book, or that's the author's name?
Well, no, the author name is Lee Goldberg.
Oh, Lee Goldberg. Okay.
Okay. And there are now 4 books of that series out.
In that series, there's
Yeah.
4.
Therefore, yeah, the 4th one came out too. So
Oh, I gotta go back. I gotta go back and get the other 2.
well, there was one I couldn't find, but Jane, because it's not, when you look in the series, it doesn't show. But Jane told me how to
Yeah,
find it,
Jane Clark.
and I found it. Yeah,
Yeah.
You found it on Bard?
yeah.
Okay.
All 4 are on board, but one is not listed as part of the series.
Okay. And
That
what
was
other?
the first one. The first one I think wasn't listed as a series, in that series. But
The first one wasn't listed. The second one, the first one I found was the second book, and then I looked at the series and found one more, but not the one the second one, not the first one. So Jane told me how to find that, and then the 4th one came out right after that.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
back and get those tonight.
Yeah. It's a good book,
one
very
other book.
entertaining.
There's one other book I'd like to mention before pass it on here.
Go
And
ahead, Mike.
This is a nonfiction. When the Heavens Were for Sale. I haven't followed all the technology. I love books about smart people. So I've read books about Elon Musk and his development of the rocketry and blowing the rockets up on the test stand and everything. What a tough thing rocketry is. Coming up with a vehicle that'll put a payload into orbit, into space. But that's fascinating reading. Well, this book, When the Heavens Were for Sale, tells about Elon Musk type people, people that are into rocketry around the world. And there's people in Ukraine. There's a guy in New Zealand. And even when you don't have a base for that kind of technology, this guy in New Zealand, his father was into building things, developing things, and built his boys a workshop. Well, this guy got in a workshop, got interested in space and building rockets, and I was surprised that he got the government to let him launch them from one of the islands in New Zealand, but he actually put a rocket up into orbit. And also the people that are building these satellites. Once upon a time, a satellite, telecommunications satellite was something, 600-700 pounds, and that's takes a pretty beefy rocket to get that much weight into orbit, out of Earth's gravity well. But now they've got satellites that are the size of like a grilled cheese sandwich or something like that, and with the technology getting smaller and smaller and more powerful or whatever, they can get a lot more in, a much smaller package. So they're not just launching rockets with one satellite aboard. They've got, 50, 60, or 100 of them.
So was that a book that you were reading all that, or was that in the Elon book?
No, that's in this book. It's
what's the name of that book?
When the Heavens Were for Sale.
Oh, When the Heavens Were for Sale. Okay. Do you know who wrote that?
You had to ask that.
And hi, Chuck. I heard you came in there, so we'll give it to you in a second.
I read it first from Bookshare.
Oh, okay.
And then I was looking at the books that were recently added to Bard, and in the last week or so, it was just added. And it's a much better read when you got a human reader, to listen to.
Yeah. I saw that book, but I haven't downloaded it yet. I'll have to check that out.
Okay, if you're interested in technology, the the guy's a really, really, really good writer. Also read another one, and again, this was from Bookshare. It was about Formula One racing, and this guy had been in Formula One racing for 40 years. He'd been on a number of different teams, and holy smoke, the technology that goes into these automobiles, these cars, these race cars,
Yeah.
is unbelievable. They've got whole teams just working on the chassis, whole teams working on the motors, whole teams working on the aerodynamics. And you think about a wind tunnel and you go, well, that's an expensive proposition. Well, the Ferrari team's got 3 of them.
There's a guy that's involved. He's a volunteer with Wisdom for the Blind. His name is Thomas. So I'm surprised he's not on here tonight, but before he lost his sight, he used to build race cars, and he works. So he's the one that he put on the hot rod activity in Gainesville this past weekend. So he's really into building cars, and he knows all the top racers and stuff like that. So he's a really cool guy.
Well, that technology it's gotten amazing.
Oh yeah, you got to be a total engineer on that stuff. How about
again,
you? How about you, Bert? What have you been reading? What else have you been reading?
Well, I just mentioned, I just finished that Mr. Monk book, and I'm going to start now on. I don't remember the author. It's a book about. I think the title is Business Travel or Business Trip. And it's 2 women that don't know each other that are on the same plane and disappear. But I don't remember who the.
Well, that sounds like a good theme so far. I like that.
Yeah, it just came out recently in Bird.
Okay.
But I wanted to make a comment. It's funny about Formula One. You mentioned Formula One because my younger granddaughter is at Colorado School of Mines. It's in Golden, Colorado. It's a very high-rated engineering school. In fact, it's rated right after MIT. It's the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a very big Formula One.
New notification from Outlook. Left parent, classic right parent.
Student
CSUME.
thing there. They're studying that, and they build cars there, and they test them. And she got involved in that, and too much involved, and then she pulled out because it was taking, too much effort and too much time. But it's a big thing there at that school to teach the department. Formula One teaches engineering for based, targeting that.
Yeah, I think that's the future. I mean, those car engineers, airplane engineers, space engineers, it's all going to be, they're all kind of linked together in my mind, So some of those cars are like jets, So,
Yeah.
all right. Chuck Martin, how you doing? I'm glad you made it on here.
Yeah, good evening. First thing, can you hear me?
We can hear you good.
Okay. And I do want to say this because I got to clear this out. I got on last month when I had trouble. You sent me a link and I saved that link and got on and nobody was there. But it was also for the Geek Club. Do you guys have more than one link for these meetings?
Yeah, I think each meeting has a separate link.
Okay, that's my trouble, because that was Geek Club. So I
Yeah.
went to the email your wife sent, and that's how I got in. So at least I saved both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I can only make a suggestion. If you want idiots to come into your groups, you should have one link, but that's my opinion. Anyways, okay, on books. I read a book This got me in. Hold on, let me make sure I got.
Stephen King, His Life, Work, and Influences. Young Readers Edition.
Okay, a book about Stephen King, about his life and his life's work. And it got me interested more into Stephen King. I always used to say I wasn't going to ever read Stephen King's books because most of the movies I watched of his were, they're okay, but not so good. Well, then I started reading some. The first one was The Institute, and I really liked it. So then I started beyond that. Now I'm reading The Stand.
Oh boy.
It's back from 1978. It's 32 hours long, and but it's good. I really like it so far. I'm probably only 4 hours into it, but it's good. Um, anyways, that's what I'm reading right now. If that's what you're going to ask.
That's what I was going to ask you. I like Stephen King. I like his books better than his movies, although I watch his movies. And The Stand, I've read that one. I've read all of his books. When you get a chance, read The Dome. They made a movie out of it too, but the book is by far better. If you like The Institute, you'll like The Dome. So,
Yeah. Okay. I actually that's on my list because I did watch the TV series, The Dome,
yes.
until they canceled it.
Yep. The book is by far better, as usual. All right. Sounds good. Well, I've just been reading this Dr. Kay Scarpetta book series, and there's several books. She's a forensic scientist, and I like the medical stuff, so they really get into the medical part of homicides and the murder mysteries part of the law and the legal system. So it's kind of interesting. The language is kind of rough sometimes, but I think the writing is really good, and it's a pretty good series. So Patrica Cornwell is the author, and there's several books in that series. So if you like murder mystery, it's kind of an old series. It's been around for a while, but yeah, it's pretty good so far.
I've read most, if not all, of those books.
Yeah, they're good. I like them.
Yeah, they're very good.
And I've also just finished the new, well, it's not new. It finally got on bar. Jack Carr, Red Sky, the last book of the Commander Reese series, the Navy SEAL. And I hope they're not going to end it there, but it's the last book of the series so far. I don't know if they're going to write another one, but that's really good. It's kind of I would say one of, I don't want to say the best book of the series, but it was really, really good. And of course, the ending, like most good books, leave you hanging. So they could come back or not come back. So we'll have to wait and see. So, what else, Mike? What else you had to say? Mike, did you disappear on us? Bert?
Space. Off.
I'm here.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are, Mike. Okay, good. Thought you fell asleep on us.
No, it muted on me.
Oh, okay.
But anyhow, some of these authors, they won't let die, like Ian Fleming, there's a guy still writing James Bond books, and of course they're not as good. And an author that I read all 7 of the series, all the books in the series, W.B. Griffin. Somebody is.
That is my favorite. That is my all-time favorite, W.B. Griffin.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite too, and I still reread his books.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, his son, co-wrote
yeah.
the last 10 or 12 books, and I thought, if anybody was going to pick up the series, or it would be his son, but somebody else has, been given that, writing books in W.B. Griffin style. Of course, they don't come up to, our standard, but
no, it's hard to get a second writer in there because they just don't have the the style or something, but
One came
Yeah.
up recently. One came out recently, and it wasn't the same. No.
oh no, I was
Some of the
just
Tom
gonna
Clancy
say,
books, some of the Tom Clancy would have wannabes are, not too bad.
yeah. I was just
But
gonna say that about Griffin, that there's a new book that came out on Bard, but I've downloaded it, but I haven't listened to it yet. So
I'm
At
not
least
recommending.
I read it, but it's not the same. Not as good
No.
as the Griffin.
yeah. Yeah, and Clancy, I love his books and I love the Ryan series. But towards the end, it got a little bit new writers and this didn't quite catch it with me. But
That's usually the case.
yeah, yeah.
I also miss the guy that wrote the Mitch Rapp books. Lee Child.
Lee Child, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching the Reacher series on TV now, and they're not as good as the books. They've taken the books and tried to make a TV series out of it. It's just not, this doesn't cut it for me. So, how about you, Chuck? Anything else?
Well, you mentioned Reacher. We're watching the Reacher series,
Yeah,
and my son is and my wife are kind of explaining this. The one of the bad guys is that Reacher's up against is like twice the size of Reacher. They say next to Reacher, this guy is like a giant.
yeah.
So I can't even imagine how big he is. But anyways,
I heard that the actor that plays Reacher is not too tall.
could be. I don't know. All I know is that he's a big guy. That's it. All I know is he's bigger than Tom Cruise.
Have you read the book series, Chuck? The
Oh
Reacher.
yeah, I think I've read pretty much all but maybe the last one, maybe the last two, but I think the last one. I think when he started with his brother or son or whoever's writing with him, they're like you guys are saying, they're not up to par.
No.
Space.
What
No,
was the scariest scene out of all the Reacher books?
What's the what?
The scariest scene out of
Oh.
all the Reacher books.
Oh boy.
Wow.
For me, it was when him and the FBI agent who was her godfather was the president were kidnapped by that crazy right wing group out in Montana or someplace out west, and they had a camp out there, and they had these two caves or whatever, and they locked him in one. He found out that there was a tunnel, and he crawls into that tunnel, not knowing where it goes or whatever, and he gets in there and he's disturbing the rats, and there's no way he can turn around a big guy like that. And I got claustrophobic reading that scene,
Yeah.
I mean, I was very uncomfortable.
And that's that. I mean, that just shows you what a great writer is, because he puts you in that place, So, yep.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the scariest part was when he lost his toothbrush.
When did he lose his toothbrush?
No,
Uh,
it's just a joke because that's all he carries with him is some like a license or some kind of ID and
yeah, his
his
passport.
toothbrush.
Yeah. But what a way to live, right? I mean, I always thought, wow, that'd be pretty cool just to kind of wander around the country and the world. And when you need to change your clothes, you walk into a thrift store and buy it and wear it out and throw your other ones away. The only thing he didn't really change a lot of was his boots.
Yeah, real men don't change their boots often anyways.
Yeah.
Space.
Well, that, and he still had that watch that the army, gave him.
That's right. Yep. Anything
And
else?
He did travel light.
Yeah, for sure. What a way to travel. And when I like to go on cruises, and I like to my suitcase is like a backpack, and that's all I carry. And so when I travel, I just carry that backpack, and if it doesn't fit in there, then I don't bring it. So not quite as good as Reacher, but almost.
Well, I think if I love coffee as much as Reacher did, I wouldn't want to get that far from a Starbucks, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing that he doesn't even go to Starbucks, right? He just buys that old black diner coffee and lots of it.
By the gallon.
Anything else? Any other books that people want to talk about or recommend? Or we talked about some pretty good books. I think some good recommendations there. I think Bard is getting a little bit better now. It's they had a little bit of a slow spot for me, but they're starting to throw some good books in there recently.
I don't understand Bard. There are books that are available out of the catalog that aren't available on Bard. And I don't get that. I mean, you'd have to have the author's permission to, have them available on a, what are those cassettes? They put them on cartridges.
Yeah.
But you get a library to put a book on a cartridge for you, and it's not available on Bard. I don't get that. And there's a lot of books that were recorded back when that haven't been, digitalized. And I don't understand that. Turn it over to a company. They can do it in probably no time at all, and it'd be a lot cheaper than the government.
Well, I think when I used to volunteer, I used to be a tester for a bar. Well, not the Bard program, but the Talking Book program when they were converting over to the Bard system. And there are just so many books that they had to get people to read digitally. And the recordings, they were trying to not put the recordings like the old cassette tapes onto the cartridge, so they had to process it digitally, and they're just slow. I mean, it's the government, so they're slow for sure. And then you got the copyright laws because the publishing companies were making money on like Audible books. They make money, so it'd be easy to convert those over to the Talking Book program, but they don't do it until a certain time limit. And I think mostly it's just due to time. They just don't have the time to do it.
Books that I listen to on hard disk and floppy disk, they're recorded, but they're in the analog. They need to be converted over to digital. They got machines that do that.
Yeah. Yep. And they do. I mean, they do. They just don't do it fast enough. And then you have you have a whole committee of people that select the books they want to record. And we can't help it. They're not as good readers as we are. They don't select good books.
But mostly we're getting recorded digital. Commercial recordings.
Yeah.
In Bard now instead of the old cassettes converted, that kind of thing.
And for a long time, the Talking Book program was not allowing commercial books. Because it was a government agency and the whole commercial thing. They're trying not to mix the two, but I think that they've loosened up a lot on that.
Another thing I want to say is NLS came out with a new player. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah, DA2, Digital Audio 2.
Oh.
It's a new player. It's got two things that I like. Especially, I mean, it's supposed to be better. The old one we have is getting old, really getting old, and it still works, but really getting old. But this one has Wi-Fi and has the time, which is something I appreciate because when I'm laying in bed listening to a book, I lose the notion of what time it is, and I don't want to press my watch to watch my wife. So, I appreciate having that I have on headphones.
Can you download books to it like you can with your Victor Reader and stuff?
With a new one, you can.
With
Yes.
the new one, you can. Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. And it plays the same cassettes as the books. So you can get a blank cassette,
Oh, nice.
download
Okay.
books. Yeah. But what I do, I've always done. I probably keep on doing it. I use Bar Express.
Yeah.
It's my favorite system. I download it to my computers, and that already unzips it and everything. So I copy from there to a blank cassette, a few books at a time, not too many, but a few books at a time, and then put them in my player for a night. At night, I don't use the Victor Reader. At night, I listen to that on my night table.
Hmm. Okay.
But I already called Daytona. They haven't received the new things yet, but I put my name on the list. So if you're interested, I think
I'll do that tomorrow.
I think you should do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Veterans have a priority.
Yeah.
They only got a certain number of machines there. If you're a veteran, you go to the top of the list.
Yeah, it's better to be on the list.
That and another category I assume will be, when you get over 100, you go to the top of the list.
Well, you should. You should be at the very, very top. If you're over 100. I signed up a guy the other day. He was 90 years old, a World War II veteran, never heard of the Library of Congress program or the Talking Book program. And I signed him up in the program and got him all set up. And I saw him today and he's all excited because now he's listening to his books and he's very excited about it. So
If
pretty
he's
cool.
90, I don't think he was old enough to serve in World War II. Okay, it was over in 1945.
Yeah.
So if he was 18 years old, that'd make him 98.
Well, he's in his 90s. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know.
At 90, he would only been 10 years old when the war was over.
All right. Well, maybe he's older than I thought. So
What were you going to say before, Mike?
Say again?
What were you going to say before? You said birch something?
Oh, have you ever used an iPad?
I used to, but I didn't like it. The VA gave me one, and I gave it away to my bros, the guy who helped me. Yeah, and mentioning what you just mentioned, David, the VA used to contract me to teach all the people how to use JAWS and other stuff.
Yep.
Because I was, I used JAWS since it began, 1989. I'm pretty good with JAWS.
Bert, when I run into problems, I think about calling you.
Call me. Why not, Mike?
Hold on one second.
Stuff.
Hold on one second. If nobody has anything else to say about books, let's end the recording now, and then we can continue on for a few. Okay. Anybody have anything else to say about books, Chuck?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining the book club. And remember, spread it around. Let's get some more people involved. I think it's been a really good discussion. Talked about some really good books. So I appreciate everybody. And so we'll go ahead and end it for this tonight. And we'll be listening for you guys next time. So thanks a lot for joining.
Well, thank you for doing it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Bree.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You've been listening to Wisdom Books. Coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with an in-studio audience at the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. If you know someone who is blind or vision impaired, tell them about the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at www.w4bv.org. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom Books.